All right, what's up, everybody? It's Ben from the Salted Tree. This is going to be episode one of Salted Tree Sports. Coming right at you. We have some juicy sports news to report on, and let's get going.
Hi, I'm Aniket. You guys probably all know me from regular Salted Tree. Um, let's check out what everybody else is. Who else is here?
Hello, it is a Kindle. I'm making my debut appearance on the Salted Tree Sports, and it is a pleasure to be here on behalf of everyone at the Footballing Minds. And we hope that you enjoy.
Yeah, Tamari, the guy who's always 100% right with the basketball knowledge and
Oh,
football knowledge, so yeah, it's going to be a good episode.
Zeke, you might also know me from the regular Salted Tree. I'm the guy who, tells Amar he's wrong with all his trash takes, and lets Ben know that the Sixers and all other Philly teams are trash. So, yeah.
oh, shut up, bro. Aren't you from like Buffalo or something?
Zeke is our local Canada resident,
I'm from
reporting
Albany.
Canada from
Stop
the
hating,
Salted
bro.
Tree.
Stop hating.
So let's
Stop hating.
let's just get right into it.
Kennedy, you are from
Let's
Newtown, Pennsylvania. All right, go ahead.
Nah, Philly. We're Philadelphia suburb. Don't worry.
All right, so let's start off. Me personally, I'm not much of a soccer fan, being American and all. None of us Americans really follow soccer all that closely. So I'm gonna hand it over to Kindle to highlight some of the soccer slash football, as they call it, news going around the world right now. So Kindle, what's happening?
Yes, the residential Nigerian. So today was the second
Excuse
biggest
me?
week.
Excuse me?
Uh,
You
well,
good, bro?
see, I'm 100%. I'm 100%.
Put some
So
respect on my
sorry,
name.
sorry. You're right.
Shit.
Damian Lillard type things. Okay, my bad. Yeah. So today, or this week, I should say, probably the second most important week in football history, or you could say third after the World Cup final, obviously, and potentially the Ballon d'Or. But we had the Champions League final today, only a couple hours ago, and Bayern Munich beat PSG 1-0 in a relatively eventful game. Relatively eventful. It was definitely better than last year's when Liverpool beat Spurs. I see Amari shaking his head because Spurs are Spurs. They don't win trophies. Not in their dictionary, but that's all right. But Bayern, talk about a team who likes to win trophies. Yes, Bayern. This is the treble and their second ever treble. Uh, the goal coming from Kingsley Coman from a cross by Perisic, and Bayern just had a very professional match. They scored. Manuel Neuer for me was their man of the match. He was great in goal, saved two or three great efforts. But I think the real talking point is the lack of clinicalness, I would say, from PSG. They were very lackluster in front of goal. They did have a couple of good chances that most people would say that on a normal day they would put away, but Bayern are just a different class of opposition, and they couldn't hang in there with them. So, yeah. However, last weekend we had the Europa League final, which is basically the Champions League's little brother, and Inter Milan faced off versus Sevilla, and Sevilla won their sixth Europa League, which is double any other team in the competition's history. And it was a highly contested final with Diego Carlos's 74th minute overhead kick, which was cruelly turned in by Lukaku, was the decisive goal. It started off as the same man, Diego Carlos, could have been sent off for dragging down Lukaku before the Belgian netted the opener from the penalty spot after 5 minutes of play. However, De Jong scored twice for Sevilla, having a very clinical display, and he turned the tide around in their favor, which was he was the main catalyst for the result. And all season long he's sort of been lackluster, but um in this game he did get the job done. Now Godin, who is the guy that we all know to be the Atletico Madrid captain, but this season he moved over to Inter. He hit back minutes after Sevilla second, and it was 2-2. Ultimately, the unorthodox third goal from the Spanish side settled the tie, winning the Europa League. The veterans won their 6th ever title in the competition, and Sevilla are the Europa League kings, just as we say Real Madrid are the Champions League kings. Yeah, so European competition tends to be dominated by the Spanish clubs, and that did not change this year. But yeah, weird year for soccer since we only had one leg for all these ties. But we hope that by the time the Champions League resumes for next season, we are back to normal and coronavirus is in the past. But we shall see.
I mean, it won't even matter because Spurs are going to win Europa League next year. So
yeah, Europa. Are y'all even in Europa League?
we're in the qualifying.
So y'all have to qualify.
Spots.
Couldn't be my club. Couldn't be my club.
Now, speaking of performances, I mean, LUKA Doncic, man.
The segue. I love it.
This kid, I don't think we've ever seen a player at his age, maybe outside of Michael Jordan and LeBron, but he's even playing better than those two at their age. Just dominate and just be so spectacular and amazing. Like, it's just, I mean, the Mavs were down 21 at one point. And, I don't want the Clippers to win, man. I just can't. I can't rock with them. Kawhi, great player, but, I can't rock with him. And LUKA, I mean, Porzingis is out. He's got that rolled ankle that he messed up the other night. And, I mean, he just puts up a monster performance and goes to overtime. And, I mean, I'm like, it's over, man. We lost. We're down 3-1. And, he just proves why he's just one of the greatest players at the age we've ever seen. Once again, step back 3 to win the game. I mean, just y'all's thoughts on that.
I mean, 42 points, 17 and 15, knocking up a triple-double like that with the game winner, with his co-star out against, quote-unquote, the best defensive team in the league to go up or to tie it up 2-2. I don't think anybody else in the league could have done that. I'm really excited to see the Mavs make hopefully a deep playoff run. I think they got it in them to definitely mess some things up for some of the higher seeded ranked teams out there. And I don't know, I'm just excited to see what they have in them. And I'm excited to see what LUKA can do later on in the playoffs. Definitely exciting.
Yeah, what I took from the game is, first of all, yeah, LUKA's a bad. That's a bad man, 1. But 2, I also took out 2 things. I think Lou Williams should have taken the last shot instead of Kawhi, because Lou Williams was hot and he had 30, and Kawhi took a pretty terrible fadeaway shot 3 to win the game, and it missed pretty badly too. And it missed pretty badly too. So yo, Kendall.
This chat.
And it missed pretty badly too. So I think Lou Williams should have taken it. And also, I don't know if y'all checked the stats, but Paul George played atrociously. Like, he shot 3 for 13 the whole game with 9 points, 11 points. You know what I mean? So it's just, I think that shows like a lot about the Clippers, just how inconsistent they are. You know what I mean? One day Paul George is good, one day Paul George is bad, one day Lou Williams wants to drop 30, one day he doesn't. You know what I mean? So if they want to play the Lakers, which I still think they will get to the finals. I know Amari wants the Mavs to get to the finals just so LeBron can have it easier. Or, I mean, to the Western Conference Finals, so LeBron.
Well, I mean, LeBron's not even getting there because, once West Beast comes back and drops 97 points on LeBron and Anthony Davis and gets to the conference finals and beats whoever they play, hopefully the Mavs, then, we're going to win 4-0. We're going to beat whoever the East wants to send, so it won't even matter.
The expression on Zeke's face is telling me that he's about to tell you how stupid you sound right now.
So anyway, like I said, when the Clippers get to the Western Conference Finals and they beat the Lakers and get to the finals and win the championship, Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Lakers real quick. I was watching that Lakers game the other night, and they defensively are such a lazy team. Like, I was watching Portland have a breakaway, and like LeBron, AD, and like three of the other guards wouldn't go back on defense to put up any effort. And it just seems like they're slow on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that's really the only reason that Portland's still in that series, just because defensively, I mean, AD definitely, don't get me wrong, he puts up his fair share, but I just feel like they're slow and they're not really keeping up with the younger guys on the field. And I don't know what you guys think, but that's just my take.
I think. Or you can go ahead again.
I mean, I feel like it's a bit like you get what you pay for. The thing with LeBron is that he is a really, 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 really good player, but it's also you have to recognize that he's pushing late 30s. He's been in the league for like a really long time, and sure he boosts ticket sales, but you have to recognize that does LeBron still have it in the crunch time? Obviously, I feel like I'm going to be proven wrong like this this month, but still, I think in a way like the Lakers have to recognize how they can, I guess, be a better team and just be better in crunch time. Like it just like it felt really disappointing just like seeing like a lot of the team just feel very centralized on Davis and LeBron and not really like focus on guards or any of the other players. Like I don't know, that's just my thoughts.
Well, to me, I feel like the only way the Clippers win this series is if the bench can show up. Specifically, like guys like Gary Trent Jr. and Arizona. These are supposed to be the two guys who are supposed to give them productivity. And I mean, you know what you're going to get from Lillard, and you know what McCollum has been playing well, and you know what you're going to get from McCollum. But the bench, I'm looking at the box score. The bench only had 8 points the entire game, and you know LeBron played, you know, very well again. You know, him and AD both had AD had like 29, LeBron had 30 plus again. And LeBron, I remember he hit that it might have been a sidestep three or something, but he hit a three to basically close out that game. But you know, I'm waiting for Dame time to come back. I mean, the first game when Portland won, you know, he played really well. And then the second game he went out because of injury. And the third game, you know, he's still getting his points, but like, you know, it's not like he's been playing like he was throughout
He's not dominating.
the restart. Yeah.
I feel like it kind of goes to like it's like a hot hand fallacy, really. Like the assumption that like if you're gonna go hot for like X amount of time, that's just more or less going to compound, which doesn't particularly mean anything. It doesn't really indicate performance, and I think that just goes to show it. Like Dame not playing as well as he was for those first like 10 games.
I feel like it's a matter of he's actually playing good teams now. You know what I mean? Like you remember back like when he was dropping, he had to drop 40 or like 51 to beat the Nets. You know what I mean? Like you have to put that into perspective. The Nets without KD and Kyrie. So like this is obviously what's going to happen when they play the Lakers. And obviously he's not like dropping as many points and he could drop as many points against the Lakers because he's capable of it. But they're just a better defensive team, you know. Like I know Ben was saying they're lazy, but at the end of the day, if LeBron wants to play defense, he can play defense. They have Danny Green, they have J.R. Smith, like they have guys to play defense, you know what I mean? So I feel like guys, like people were taking it out of context when he was dropping 40, 50, 60 on these trash teams. You know, this is just what happens when you start to play better teams.
Yeah, bro. Like I don't remember if it was Skip and Shannon or Stephen A, but someone was saying like LeBron James is the best defender of all time. So I'm like, no. I heard someone say that, or maybe the best defender in the league. One of these.
Shannon. It was probably Shannon.
Someone named.
I don't know, man. I mean,
someone named Kawhi Leonard.
But my point is that, as Zeke said, if LeBron wanted to defend, mans can defend.
Yeah, that's true.
So like,
that's true.
It's just more of a question of will rather than capability.
To me, also with the Lakers, they when I'm watching the game, it doesn't really look like, because they said Kyle Kuzma's got to be the third guy, the third best player in the team. and he only had like 7 points in the game. And I'm watching them play when he's on the court, and they're not really running plays for him like they did in the regular season, like where he would just run, cut to the corner, and hit the three. He's kind of just out there to be out there. And I mean, it was funny to see JR back there. He made like one mistake and got taken out right out. And every time I see him, I get reminded of what he did in the finals. Oh my gosh.
Can we do something? Can we talk about Ben's team? Can we talk about
Anakin delay?
Talk about what happened to them? How they just got moved out of the way? Huh?
All right.
Got swept.
I need some time on the floor right now.
Y'all, bro, you didn't win a game, bro.
Okay, let's break it down.
Come on, bro. What happened to the process? You remember when we were freshmen?
Process.
All I heard from every single player. Trust the process. Trust the process. Trust the process.
No, let me break it down, right?
Failed, bro. Just reboot.
Process.
What
You're gonna have to trade
Albany,
Joel Embiid, bro. It's not gonna happen, bro. It's okay. Just take the L, take the broom.
We'll trade Ben. Don't worry.
Y'all aren't a winning franchise, bro.
That's like the first time in 30 years that the Sixers been swept.
Syracuse, like what?
Exactly.
You have a college team.
I looked at there was like a graphic in that game, and it showed that your guys' contracts for next year. You guys got to pay, I think Simmons $30 million,
Ain't paying
Embiid, and like Tobias Harris and Horford $28-27 million, and no one wants Horford at that age, especially on that contract. Tobias Harris is.
He wasn't even worth
below all-star quality.
Yeah.
And, Simmons can't shoot a three. And I know, but he shoots in practice or in the rec. I don't know. Even I will take a three. I'm probably one of the worst basketball players I've ever seen play. But I'm not even afraid to take a shot. I'll take some crazy 0 IQ three-point shots, but I'm not afraid to take them. And like Ben Simmons, you're a 6'10" point guard, man. Even Lonzo Ball shoots three. Lonzo Ball actually got a nice three. And people want to compare the Sixers and what they did with Ben Simmons to like what happened to Giannis in Milwaukee.
Don't disrespect Giannis.
No. But Giannis, he doesn't have a great three-point shot, not even a good three-point shot. But, he has a pretty decent three-point shot. And he'll airball threes and even free throws. But he still takes them and still fights to get to the line and stuff like that. And I mean,
but doesn't it? I don't mean to cut you off. But doesn't it make more sense to hold onto the ball for your team rather than lose possession?
That's not how basketball works. No, Akindele, you can't.
Okay.
My G,
Let me tell you why. First of all, let me sorry, Ben. Let me prove Akindele wrong real quick. I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear.
Oh yeah,
loud and
very loud and very clear.
All right, yo. The reason you have to at least take shots, because if you don't take shots, that means the defense is going to collapse. And when they're not guarding you while they're on the three, that means they can help on somebody else. So it's basically on offense, there's not a man on the floor when Ben Simmons is on the floor and he's like outside of the free throw line, basically. So it's like his man can pretty much just guard someone else or help when someone else drives. And also, can we talk about Brett Brown?
Yes, bro. Thank you. Let's talk about Brett Brown. Let's talk about Brett Bye Brown.
I wouldn't be surprised if he got fired
tomorrow.
But part of me doesn't blame him, because you can't really teach heart and effort. It's just kind of something like a player has to figure out on their own.
Bro, he was the coach when we won like 5 games in a season, bro.
Well, that was when y'all were tanking for draft picks.
5 games in a season, bro. And he's still the coach now. So what do you expect? Like, I don't want to bring up soccer again, but real quick. When Barcelona lost 8-2, got themselves rolled over. Their coach was fired by halftime. He knew it.
If you just fired a coach every season your team sucked, you'd have like 20 different coaches. Like if the Knicks fired their coach, I mean, they fired plenty of coaches.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Like that.
If the Knicks fired their coach every year, except for the small little span in the early 2000s, and the late 2010 or no, the early 2010s when Melo was there, they'd have like 15 different coaches. And it's like the Sixers were trying to build something.
That's the way. Look at Chelsea.
No, but
Fire a coach like every year.
the Sixers were trying to build something. And last season, it looked like people had them going to the finals.
Yeah,
And
it was promising.
that was a good team. And then, I'm watching the playoff series, and people want to say, "Oh, well, Joel dropped 30 like every game." I mean, that's fine, but like, it didn't even look like he cared half the time when he was on the court. It just looked like, oh yeah, they just went on like a 10-2 run or something. Oh well, I mean, it's whatever. And then I didn't like what he said in the interview when the reporter was like, "What's the problem? Do you think it's coaching? Do you think it's, whatever?" And he was like, there is no problem. Clearly there is. I mean, you guys
That's a bad
got
response.
swept.
That's
I
a
mean,
bad response.
I think he was just trying to be like democratic with it, just like.
well, I mean, there is a problem. I mean,
Well, then if he wants to be democratic, then you should say it falls on all of our shoulders. That's what he should say. Just say
and
it's
instead-
all of our
I would say
problem.
that. but-
That team-
Instead, he said, "I have to carry this team now," and then look what happened.
That team
Okay, well now
You
he's
ain't
has
carrying
no
nothing.
leaders.
well, that's gonna just screw up
The
team morale.
backpack fell off your back.
I think that the Sixers, those players, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, the stars of that team, have been in a losing mentality since the process began. They've gotten used to getting blown out, losing a whole bunch of games in a row, going on bad road trips, all that, and that's been perfectly fine for like 7 years in a row. And now we're expecting them to pick up traction and start having a little bit of heart, start winning tough games, dive on the floor for the ball, and they blow it. And I hate that, it really hurts me to say this, but I think the process has come to a close. And I would not be surprised if Ben Simmons and or Joel Embiid is not a Sixer next year. And I think that the city of Philadelphia will go into a state of rejoice when Brett Brown leaves the organization.
Listen,
see,
So like, do you think like Brett Brown like normalized the losing culture even after we had a very good squad? So,
First of all, your fans normalize the losing culture. That's the thing. When you can't lose purposely for like 5 years and then all of a sudden switch that type of mentality.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's not just the fans too, but it's also the coach, because he was the coach that they had when they were losing. So I think they should have fired him like right when they drafted Ben Simmons and got Joel Embiid.
Exactly.
But it's also just the culture of y'all. You know what I mean? Like you can't go from planning to lose to thinking you're gonna win in like a year, 2 years time.
Think about it.
But
Think
I
about
just sit back and laugh, man. Yeah, y'all weren't meant to win.
Nah. And I could have told you going into this playoffs, like it was pretty apparent that the Sixers were not going to win. Like I didn't get my hopes up. And, I just think that it's time for us to move on. It's time for us to start over the right way, not just exploiting the draft lottery to hopefully get a good pick. I think it's time to start from the ground up, get some young shooters, some guys who can play the 3 and D, and then just go from there.
Y'all are like the Knicks,
see,
the slightly better Knicks.
thinking of the right way, I think the coach should be Jay Wright. Honestly, two March Madness titles.
He'll never leave Villanova.
I mean, he's probably getting the bag at Villanova, but still,
Bro, think
I
about it.
think
This is Brett
he
Brown.
would jump at a Sixers job.
This is Brett Brown, right? Brett Brown
honey,
is
Jesus.
the kid is the kid who let's say we were in a race with really fast cars, right? And the Sixers was a bicycle. We were a bicycle in the NBA, and we had Brett Brown riding the bike, and he's a toddler. But then we got Ben Simmons, we got Embiid. Then we turned into a Formula One car, and we were out there, we were roaring. But we still had that same toddler controlling the wheel. We never got a Formula One driver. We still had mans like Pranav out there trying to race for us. And I'm like, what? we need to improve. We need to get a real coach, someone out there who can motivate these players. Get someone, bro. I don't even know if it's Coach K. Go out there, get someone.
I mean,
It's ridiculous. We're the Spurs of basketball. Oh, well, there is a Spurs in basketball. Tottenham Hotspurs of basketball.
I mean, speaking of improvements, NBA draft lottery and the Hawks, man. Oh my gosh, man.
Wait, what pick did you guys get? Just for the
We got the sixth pick, and I mean, to me, it's really a 3-player draft: Wiseman, LaMelo, and Anthony Edwards. After that, I
Yeah,
mean,
everybody else is going to the G League.
you just better hope one of their picks turns out good. But I mean, Timberwolves likely going to draft Anthony Edwards. I mean, it just
They
only
lucked
makes
out,
sense.
man.
I
I mean,
it's gonna
this
be very
draft
interesting.
class is definitely showing us something. Zeke, get that off the screen right now. This draft class is definitely showing us something, like all these young players electing to go to the G League, chasing the bag, if you will. What do you guys think about that? Like, it's a totally new approach to the game of basketball. This hasn't really been a thing for since like last year, this year. What do you think about this alternate approach to making it to the league?
we
I
spoke
mean,
about it.
oh, you go.
No, you can go on.
All right. Me personally, I think it's fantastic. Like before, like the past 2 years, I mean, the G League was honestly a joke to me. Like I didn't know the teams or anything like that. But I mean, if you think about it, like let's say like Mikey Williams, right? Instead of going to high school, where I mean going to play college for a year and basically just pretend to be a student for the rest of like his term or whatever, because that's basically what it is. He could really just go to the G League, get money, right? And this thing, like a team signs him, they can just call him up right after that. And like to me, the G League is like the NBA's made the G League like more like minor league baseball, where like a prospect will get drafted to like the Phillies or something, and they'll watch him for like a year or 2 years, and they'll call him up right after. Like Juan Soto, one of my favorite players. He was really good in the minors, and it took him like I think like under two years to get to the majors, and then he won the championship with the Nationals last year. So I think the NBA is doing a really good job with the G League, and I think more and more players are going to continue to join that.
I think the G League, it sounds like, as Amari said, like, let's say you're planning to go to college, but you know you'll only be there for a year, right? It doesn't make sense to go because then you're not wasting money, but you're wasting time. And at the same time, you are also wasting money. And those are like the two most valuable things on planet Earth, time and money. Maybe not money, but time for sure. So if you're going to spend that time, you might as well go to the G League where you'll be making money, where you'll be playing against other kids who will then come up with you potentially. And then you've sort of avoided that year where, as Amari said, you're pretending to be a student where you can dedicate yourself to basketball. Because if you're going to do like, full 4 years, get your degree and everything, it makes sense because at least then you've got an education. So if basketball somehow doesn't work out, whether it's due to injury or whatever, no matter how good you are, an injury can end a player's career. So then at least you got that education. But if you're going to spend a year, not even get a degree, say hello to some females and then leave, like, it doesn't make sense to stay. Just go to the G League. You can do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much what everybody else said. I mean, like think about a situation, a player really good in high school, they go to college, they're only going to be there for 1 year just until they get drafted next year, but they get hurt in college, right? Like a really, really devastating injury. Now what are they supposed to do? They're in a college that they chose not for education, right? They probably weren't even paying attention to class because these players don't. They're here for the
paper
parties
class
and basketball. That's it. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden they just lost millions of dollars because they went to college. At least if a player goes to the G League, like they're going to be making a lot. Like they make 500. Jalen Green, one of my favorite players who's in the G League, he's making $500K this year alone. You know what I mean? So even if he gets hurt, that's something he made, you know what I mean? And then he could even put that into going back to college if he wanted to, or like hypothetically if he had got hurt. So I think it just makes so much sense. Like the college system before was almost like some sort of slavery. Everybody was making so much money, millions of dollars. The NCAA was making billions of dollars. And then these players were making nothing. So I like it a lot. And I think the NCAA to counter the G League is going to start paying their players now. Because what's going to happen is all these top-ranked players are going to start going to the G League instead of college. Then college is going to have to match them,
I mean, I don't know.
You got no waves.
I don't really know about that because, I mean, NCAA is getting killed already with that law in California that allows student athletes to receive endorsement money, and then on top of that, this is happening. So I think just like basketball is gonna get killed. I mean, obviously they're gonna still make bank from football, and I think it's going to be really beneficial for universities. You don't have to really burn so much money on their athletic programs, and then just actually divert it into academics, and just make sure that they're a better university. I think
That
that's I guess more ideal, especially for students who are actually getting an education at any of these colleges.
that's ideal, but we live in a capitalist society, Annika, and these guys make, as you said, bucket loads off of basketball. They make so much, and then they don't have to pay their players, so they're basically getting free labor. And then, so this G League, I'm surprised that they didn't try to shut down the G League in a legal fashion some way. But I guess their lawyers told them that there was no way that they could because, yeah, this is out like this could kill college basketball because if players, well, it can kill it in a way that the only players that will go to college basketball and then go up to the NBA are sort of like hidden gems that we didn't really know about. Then they come in and then they sort of blow up.
More like
So
academically driven young
exactly,
men.
exactly. So maybe it's someone that even went into high school. I mean, college didn't even know that they could play basketball. Pull up on the court one day and then they start balling out, and lo and behold, there they are. And even then, that person in a year's time might get the call from the G League, and boom, they're out. So for colleges, I don't think even if they do lose this money from basketball, they'll probably divert it into another sport, whether that's football or soccer or hockey or whatever. So I think that doesn't really I don't think those two will add up. But as you said, in an ideal world, that is how it would go. But yeah, I don't see it happening that way.
Yeah. Well, one part that we do have to step back and appreciate is just that, the NBA is back and we really have like good primetime TV that we can all, sit down and watch and talk about. And I think the NBA is really doing a great job and putting the bubble together, making sure everyone's staying safe. Other than a couple fiascos in the beginning, we really haven't heard of that many stories of people's safety getting put into jeopardy. And I think we all really have to thank the NBA for that. What do you guys think about other leagues right now? How do you think they're handling the pandemic? Obviously, one that I can think of is the MLB, probably doing the worst job out of the league so far. You hear, every other week there's a team that has a spike in cases. And I just really don't think they're doing a great job in keeping players in isolation, and also like people who are on the team just sort of seems like they come and go as they please. And I really wish that the MLB would have set up a little bit better of a bubble system. Obviously, they've said for the playoffs that they might institute some sort of bubble, and hopefully the NFL will use the MLB's shortcomings to set up a better program. Just because the NFL is already stricken with so much drama, player drama. You got players punching each other and getting onto all sorts of problems off the field. I just thought of Earl Thomas as an example, but the NFL always has so much drama, and hopefully, I hope that they can avoid that because I know I want to see some football. So, what do you guys think about that? Which leagues have been handling the pandemic the best, and what about the worst?
Yeah, basketball's been doing a really good job. Also, I know most people probably don't care, but golf and like tennis, they've been doing a pretty good job not having any fans. Serena Williams said she's gonna play, but she's gonna be staying in like a private house, so her team can stay safe. But hopefully, the NFL figures something out. I mean, they've had like plenty of time to figure something out. And
the UFC as well.
Yeah,
they got they were started up early, Fight Island and all that crazy stuff that they do. Hopefully, all these little leagues. I know the I don't know what it's called, the Americans Soccer League had like their own little playoff thing.
The MLS.
The MLS. Sorry, I really don't know.
No, don't worry. I don't care about the MLS either.
But I think that went pretty well.
It did. They did their league. They were also in a bubble type of thing at Disney World too. Or maybe not Disney World, but somewhere in Orlando. And they had their bubble. And it's gone successfully. They've even started so they finished last season and they started the new season now. So they've done well. But one thing I have heard on the news, basically just skipping Shannon, is that college football, that they've been doing a terrible job of like preparation for this thing, and that there's really a lack of leadership there. And we talk about the NFL, and I think what college football does may be important to what the NFL does too, because since they're both football organizations. But I think for the NFL, I don't think they can do what the NBA are doing because there's so many like players and physios and coaches that are on NFL teams that you don't really see on NBA teams. So it's gonna be hard for like the whole league to do a bubble in one place. Like it'll take a medium-sized city to do that. It'll have to be very large.
It's like basically impossible.
Exactly. So I would think that for them they'll probably end up doing like teams will have to stay in a bubble, which I think would be the smartest thing. So maybe like you reserve a plane for the team when they travel, but the teams have to stay together when they are in one city. They quarantine in some specific place when they travel. They quarantine in one specific place. And I think that'll just be what makes the most sense. But the NFL probably won't do what makes the most sense. They'll do what makes the most money and what is the most efficient.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's going to end up like baseball. I mean, last week you already had that Seahawks player bringing in that one woman into the hotel room. So, I mean, that's tough for him because he was undrafted
childish.
too. Yeah.
He was undrafted, so he hadn't even secured the bag, and he was already fooling around. Look at that clown.
I mean, every season the NFL is like overloaded with player drama, and coaches as well. They get into some sticky situations themselves, and I know that everyone just wants them to be safe so they can play some football. And honestly, I don't know how realistic of a goal that is, just because they get into drama every week, I feel like.
To pose another question, this is sort of off topic, but I heard some people in the NFL don't want to resume the season, and I think it was Odell. I may be wrong, but I think it was Odell who thinks that sports are taken away from all the political issues. You know what I mean? So I wanted to get your guys' take on that, especially with how the NBA was allowing people to get messages on their jerseys, and they haven't been, stopping anybody from saying anything political. So I've heard two different perspectives. I've heard people say that sports will hinder political problems, and then I've heard people say that sports started and politics should be left out of them. I've heard people say that sports have low-key been getting ruined for them because of how much politics are playing into a part into it, and they sort of see sports as like an escape. So I wanted to get your guys' perspective on it.
I mean, the thing is, sports is inherently political. I think this is weird fantasy with like people who are like all hating on Kaepernick about the kneeling, that somehow sports are independent of politics, but we're in the same country that literally boycotted the 1980 Olympics because of the Cold War. We're the same country that we had two people who won gold and silver a while back, and they were raising the Black Power fist. Like politics and sports are inherently meshed, and I think it's just this weird fantasy of like the idea that they aren't going to be.
Yeah, and me personally, I don't think well, I kind of saw it like this when when the protests were like really, rising and all the rioting and movements and stuff like that were happening. I was like, well, I mean, this is probably gonna die down in like 2 or 3 weeks. And to me, it kind of like, well, to me, it looks like it kind of has died down, like I predicted it would be. But I do think the NBA players, especially like guys like Chris Paul and LeBron, are doing a good job at like still keeping like, getting their messages out, and putting your name on the back of a jersey, doesn't really do anything. Like, it doesn't really do anything, but like it does like allow people to see like, what you're still fighting for. And I think even baseball, I think they're kind of doing a good job. It's the 100th year anniversary of the Negro League, and the Marlins had like their old like Negro League team jerseys. I thought that was pretty cool. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see what the NFL actually does. because their season starts in September, and it's going to go into the election. So you're obviously going to see players kneeling there, and it's just going to be interesting to see, what happens with the NFL.
Yeah, I think a big thing too that people sort of overlook because it's not a sport with a lot of popularity, but in NASCAR not too long ago with the whole Bubba Wallace incident in the news, like something like that, at that point you sort of realize that yeah, sports and politics is not they can't be separate. And I think mostly because the people that play the sports are human beings. They're also the same people that are hurt when George Floyd is killed or Breonna Taylor or whoever. And just as much you have those people that are hurt from when they're killed, you have those people that also don't care, who you may not realize, but they're all playing the same sport. They're all in the same league. And it would be foolish for someone to think that, oh, just because you see the NBA holding up signs of Black Lives Matter and this and that, then every player in the league believes that. We know that every player in the league does not believe that. There are some that might be going along with it just so they can fit in and then go on their merry way, say what they want. But I think we can't ignore what's happening in the country and in the world, and I think it would be unfair because look, if you're saying that like in this country, we all know that for some reason wearing masks is a political issue. Like in most other places, wearing masks is just something that people do, whether you're far left, far right, because they all want to get back to the normalized. But here, it's a political issue. So should we then say that people shouldn't be wearing masks when they're on the sidelines or when they're, in their hotel rooms because that's politics being brought into sports? Like, no, that doesn't make sense. So in some shape or form, politics will be brought into our sports. And I think if you do see sports as an escape, you should still be able to feel that it's an escape. Just because you don't see the name LeBron James, but you see Black Lives Matter, that shouldn't then deter you and say that, oh no, my eyes have now been hurt. Like I'm watching the Champions League, right? I don't understand what the commentators are saying because it's in Spanish, so I mute it. So if you don't like what you're hearing, just mute it. If you don't like, if you can't look at that on the back of LeBron James shirt, I'm sorry, but maybe you shouldn't be watching that sport because that's what he believes in. So if you support the player, if you truly support the player, then you'll support what he believes in, or you'll just ignore it and keep on watching. And I think that's sort of what people have to do and figure out.
Yeah, I think just to wrap up this question, I think it's just a matter of respecting people's opinions. You know what I mean? Like, even if you disagree with the political statements that these people put on that these players put on their jerseys, you know what I mean? Like, you can just put it to the side, you know what I mean, and continue to watch. And if it irritates you to the point where you can't watch, I feel like then this world is just not for you. You're gonna go around the world where you see things that you don't agree with and you just have to continue on, so yeah.
I think that's just because like people in like social media, you follow whomever you want, and you can stay within your echo chamber. And the reality is, the real world is not like that, and you should recognize that's just the world.
All right, everybody. I think this conversation has really came full circle. I'd just like to add on, like, obviously sports are a great way for us all to come together, but they can definitely be used for a lot more. And I like how sports have been really transitioned into being a way for everyone to unite, for us to unite, as a country, and just to see some positive change out there in the world. And it's really a good thing to have us all sit down and be able to talk, about different sports, different leagues. We all have different opinions, but at the end of the day, it's still all just sports.
Okay,
and we're still just a bunch of kids talking about them. So thank you guys for listening. This has been the Salted Tree.
Happy birthday, Kobe.
Salted Tree Sports.
Facts,
Happy
bro.
birthday, Kobe. Rest in
Yep,
peace.
rest in peace.
Mamba Day tomorrow too.
Legend.
And yeah, this has been us. Salted Tree Sports, episode 1, signing out. Thanks, guys.